because you want to build a relationship with that person. And those relationships, you can't build a really in-depth, personal, forever relationship with everybody you talk to, but you'd be surprised how many you can. And the people that you know when you connect with somebody.
I'm going to jump in real quick just to
Sure.
give a gentle 10-minute warning. So out of respect for everybody's time. So if there's something that you want to make sure you cover, just let me know. Otherwise, I'll continue on to the next slide.
Okay, and thanks for doing that, because I was thinking we were going to 2, so I should have asked you that question. All right, so anyway.
That's perfectly fine.
Yeah, so the key to all of this is who do you know from every place, all the places you've lived. Go ahead and flip to the next slide. You know, by sphere of influence, I mean everyone you know. I have people, well, you know, my dad knows the CEO at Amazon. Well, you should be talking to the CEO at Amazon. Get your dad to talk to the CEO at Amazon. My mom is a blah, blah, blah. My cousins, my sisters, my friends, everyone you know, and everyone you know who knows the people you know. It's a numbers game. And that includes USD. USD, like many universities, has an incredible network here in San Diego. And I have yet to meet a USD person who wasn't willing to get together with me for a cup of coffee. Your undergrad university, I mean, certainly from Colgate, you guys have spread out around the country, sure. Right?
Yeah,
right?
It's definitely a strong network.
Yeah, so go back and really leverage that. You know, whatever you did before, your former employers, you know, Andrea goes back, her first job was at Panera here, and her relationship with Estella, who was the manager she worked with at Panera, is somebody she goes back to, and that's a good relationship. Your family, your friends and friends of family, etc. Next slide, please. And stay connected with people through the process and after. I can't emphasize that enough. It is always a surprise to me. It shouldn't be, but it's always a surprise to me when I get a text, an email, or a call from somebody, especially somebody with whom I've spent sometimes hours. I mean, Raphael, you and I spent a fair amount of time together. I want to know that you land. And so do the people that who have helped you. So reach out to those people and let them know, gee, I've been at ResMed. I did a ResMed internship. And I want to go back to the ResMed thing. I mean, Alan, were you working in HR with them?
I was working on the digital marketing team. So
I, as one who has spent a lot of time supporting HR people are very linear. I would work really hard at building your marketing relationships there.
Okay.
As opposed to the HR people. Because if you don't, because the marketing people can say, hey, yeah, we remember Alan, you did a great job on this, and you can talk about the things you've done at USD subsequently that tie into what they might be working on. But the HR people tend to be very linear. So unless you feel they're really advocating for you, you know, if they're just pushing you to, hey, we've got X jobs posted, I would build line management relationships if you can.
Sure. Yeah.
I think that's
more tangible and like.
Yeah, no, exactly. And find out, you know, if somebody's left, find out where they went and find out, hey, I'd love to learn more about what you're doing at your new place.
Sure.
You know, so I mean in the LinkedIn world, this is so much easier because you can track where people are, and people are pretty daggone good at following that. Next, please. And then we're gonna let's, you know, just simply toss these notions out. The key is, you know, what is it that you want? You know, you need to have some clarity. And yet I and lots of people like me are good at, you know, you can walk in. I've had mentees say, I want to do blah, and I start listening to them talk about what they like to do and the things they've done in the past, and then I say, is that really what you want to do? And so, you know, be clear on that, not just the task, I want to be a marketing director. I want to do supply chain. But what kinds of things, do you want to sit at a desk in a cube? Do you want to work on spreadsheets all day? Do you want to? Andrea had a job offer from a corporate thing that she would have lasted a year in that. She didn't want to sit in a cube. She wanted to be out and about. She wanted every day to be different. So those kinds of things. What do you want? And and then how do you connect with the person or the people with whom you're meeting? So listen to them, ask questions about them. This drives my husband bat crazy, but I ask lots of, if you're connecting with someone, I ask personal questions, and the personal questions don't have to be, what size do you wear, but they are, do you have a family? Where'd you go to college? What are you involved in the community? Because those are things that show your interest in that person, but they also give you the opportunity to leverage those things and say, hey, I sat on the board of the YWCA here in San Diego, and the woman who was, one of the officers became the president of that board. She also is the president of Planned Parenthood in San Diego. She's the CEO of a life sciences company. And oh, by the way, one of my son's fraternity brothers is her controller. Whenever I get together with her, I ask her what she's working on, and I end up finding new volunteer gigs, and it enables me to continue that relationship because I'm providing value to her. So connect in any way you possibly can. Next, please. Again, what's your story? What stories can you tell that set you apart? I may have bored you to tears with my stories, but I know that people who are able to tell concise stories about what they've done, how they've made a difference, what they've learned along the way, are the people who get jobs, not necessarily the people who have the highest GPA or necessarily came from. You guys are going to be competing with people who came from MBA programs that are higher ranked than USD, but that doesn't mean you can't get the job. And I've seen again and again people like you guys who have gotten jobs at top tier companies because they walked in and they sold themselves. What do you bring to the table? And absolutely, how can you reciprocate? So when you're done, how can I help you? Gee, would you like a tour of USD? Do you have a child who's thinking about college? I went to Colgate, blah, 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 have you ever been to Brazil? Whatever it is, how can you reciprocate? The reciprocation part, when I make an introduction of someone to someone else, I always say, please come back to me and tell me what you thought. And the only time that I get negative comments are when someone says they were only interested in themselves. There's got to be some, give and take, and a quid pro quo's got a bad rap these days, but it is quid pro quo. How can you move things back and forth? Next slide, please. Because I tried to print these out, but the printer jammed. I can't remember what I did. Is there and these are just words. I'll send you these. These are Steve Jobs. Think of the great things that you can imagine. Do that. Whatever you do in all